What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer, and today I'm finally bringing you this budget Numeron Sky Striker deck that I've been showing you on the channel. Something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I had a few shipping issues with two different sellers for this deck, so that's why it's taken me so long to get it to you. But I'm very glad that I can bring it to you today. I'll just go through it, and like always for my in-person deck profiles, I'll have the list of cards in the description for you guys. That way you can get to it as quickly as possible. Or if you miss something while I'm going over it, you just have that reference there. But in any case, let's get into it. We're going to start off with our field spells in the deck. So I do run one Area 0, one Numeron Network, which is shocking probably for most of you, but it just, in my case, of playtesting, and part of this was the budget reason in the beginning, because this was like a really expensive card. I think it's down to $2 now. The thing is just Numeron's just not doing what it did in the OCG. Obviously, in the OCG, I believe Zexal's banned, and other cards related to Numeron Network are limited, so that's really indicative of how different our formats are between the TCG and the OCG, in my opinion. But one Mystic Mine, and to tie it all together, we do have that Terraforming. Now, you could also add a set rotation, make this a 41 card set if you want, or maybe take out a hand trap, but in my experience, I think this is fine, especially because there's so many different ways to access your Numeron Network. Moving forward, we have the one Reinforcement of the Army, and for your Numeron Callings, I run two of these. The reason I run two of these is because you're at least going to pop it off like twice, most of the time, and you do have other cards like Pot of Avarice to put all of your Numeron stuff back into the graveyard, assuming you use them to link summon or XZ summon, you know? Like maybe go into Mega cost, but that's not in this deck because it's budget still. Although I think it is quite cheap now and affordable, so Mega Clops is definitely one of the better options you can have in this deck if you want to spend a little extra. But the other reason is if you're going to go for the Zexal route, you only need 3 of them, and you'd obviously leave number 1 out of that, and the number 1 can make C1, which is in this deck, so that's the reason for the 2 Numeron Calling. The one Neos Fusion you guys have seen in my gameplay videos that I do run the Neos Fusion, and yes, it is kind of counterproductive, and yes, I would prefer to have Dragoon in this engine, but as we all know, that's significantly more expensive. Overall, Dragoon, it's still, I believe, like $42, and this is a budget deck. And this is one of the cards I had troubles with Pot of Avarice. You definitely need 2. I used to run 3, but it does put a little more pressure on yourself, and you don't exactly want to open it, although it's not the end of the world, but still, 2 to me has been the perfect ratio. Onto the Sky Striker spells, I run 3 Shark Cannon, which is great for special summoning. You know, you need it for your Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda, and all that kind of stuff. And to go along with that is 2 Widow Anchor. So obviously Widow Anchor just got put to 3 off the ban list, which is pretty darn cool, but so maybe you want to do 3 Widow Anchor and 2 Shark Cannon, which is fine. So it's really just your preference at that point. Shark Cannon is just so important in this format to me because of Eldritch, so I'd rather have that one extra one. And obviously, you're going to have a Hornet drones in here, just the one Afterburners, the one Multirole, and the one Jamming Waves. So that does it for all the Sky Striker spells. The reason I run one of those each is because they are just so accessible with your extra deck and everything like that. And you don't really know what your opponent's playing yet, so maybe in the going on game 2, you want to side that out. Put more Jamming Waves in there, put more Afterburners in there. It's really just to get a feel for it. It's great disruption if you open it. Sometimes, you know, especially against those back row heavy decks. And Jamming Waves is having spell removal is just so unique, and I think that's what makes Sky Strikers just so good, because not a lot of decks can do that. Not a lot of monsters have protection from stuff like this. And this is non-targeting removal for both of them, because if you target that face down and it goes away, and then assuming you have 3 spells in the graveyard, obviously you can pop a card on the field as well, and vice versa for Afterburners, which is pretty neat. And this is my secret spicy tech that you guys know I run. The 3 Ice Bell to go along with the 1 Snow Bell and the 1 Glass Girl. So yep, this is for the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This is basically to replace Rose, and Rose is like $10 each, and I don't want to put all this budget into a card that isn't too expensive, and I know Rose is pretty standard, but like I said, I think it's a good supplemental engine, and you know, potentially more powerful. It's a great play starter. It's something you can put in your extra monster zone that is also protected from destruction, obviously through the Windwitch engine, in addition to having your back row like Widowmaker and Shark Cannon to support it, sometimes it's enough to win you the game. And, you know, pretty standard stuff here for any Sky Striker deck. You're going to have 3 Raye. That's just getting you started on all of your plays. And moving on, you definitely want to have access to Numeron as much as possible. So I do run the 3 Numeron Wall. Extremely cheap, great for the budget side of this. And the Battle Fader effect is not bad, so that can't... it'll come into play every once in a while, and it'll save you when you don't expect it to. And for that Rainbow Neos package, obviously you have the Elemental Hero Neos, and I think in one of my gameplay videos, I actually was able to normal summon Neos for the win. You are able to get tribute fodder, obviously, out on the field quite easily. So that's a pretty neat little random thing. Because normally it's a brick, and it is a brick for the most part. But, hey, every once in a while you never know. And for Disruption here, got the 3 Ash Blossom. I do have the alt Ash Blossom art. I got it when it was quite cheap. And 3 Effect Veiler. And to finish things off, I run 2 Kaijus. It really doesn't matter what Kaijus you run, you know. It can be 2 Gamaciel, whatever it is. I just had these laying around, so I went ahead. And I got this from the structure deck from Sacred Beast, and I figured that was fine. The ratio for hand traps can definitely be changed if you guys want to. To me, this is the most comfortable, and, you know, it goes without saying that there are more expensive cards that you can change out, like Infinite Impermanence and all these other Nibiru's and all that kind of crazy stuff. But again, trying to keep the cost of this deck down as low as possible for you guys. Moving on to the extra deck, you're going to have Zexal, which has survived and is still really good. So we'll see how long this lasts in the format. It just hasn't topped anywhere, but I think somewhere someone will figure it out, especially if Raid Raptors can get enough momentum going here. And for your number package, you're going to have 4, 3, 2, and 1. And it doesn't exactly matter your ratios, but obviously number 1's the most important for this card right here, which is C1, which banishes all the cards on the field. Now you could supplement this out for your Megaclops and your Appaloosas, all that kind of stuff, but I think it's cool to have that backup plan with the second Numeron Calling in case your Numeron network does stay on the field, and maybe not everyone's expecting to play against this card. And the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon engine obviously includes Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and Winter Bell. Pretty concise, pretty cool. Again, you can take that out, add like your unicorns, your IP masquerades and stuff like that, but for how cheap it is and how powerful it could be, I think it's a pretty decent option for the deck. For your Sky Striker stuff, I run 2 Kagari. You never know what you'll need to grab from your graveyard, of course. 2 Hayate. Swinging in for game is really important, so I like this ratio at 2 at all times. And I run 1 Shizuku. Only 1 Shizuku. You usually just need to search your Widow Anchor or anything else. I've never really needed to search more than once, so that's why I did that. Maybe if you think you only need Hayate once, but in my experience of playing the deck, Shizuku is fine at 1, although it's not preferred for regular pure Sky Strikers. And obviously you're going to have this package of Rainbow Neos and your Predaplant Verte Anaconda. So that does it for the deck. This is obviously the most expensive card, and if you have Dragoon, it just... the power of this deck becomes significantly more powerful. I mean, you're having this crazy stun deck going second, and going first you have your Zexal route, and then you can go into your Predaplant at that point and just kind of pop off from there, which is pretty neat. This deck isn't competitive by anyone's standards, of course, but it's really fun, something that I'll always pop out from here and there, just because Numeron's pretty decent. We'll see. I think holding on to these cards is also a pretty decent idea in case anything crazy comes out, because any Link 4 that ever comes out from here on there, that is really good, you know, obviously is going to be accessible, but having 4 Link materials automatically on the field, basically for free, which could increase the, you know, the expense of this deck significantly. And if they ever come out with new, like, C1 cards that are really good, that could also change the way we think about things. So it's something I would recommend stashing away just because of how stupid cheap Numeron Network and all the Numeron cards are at this point. But that's going to do it for the deck profile today, guys. I really appreciate your support. Other than that, guys, that's going to do it for today, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night.